We will start in a comfortable seat. I am just in easy seat, one foot in front of the other. You can be cross-legged. You can be propped up to elevate the hips in line with the knees if that is more comfortable, or sitting up on a cushion. Taking a few moments to arrive in the body, arrive in your space. Again, taking as much time as you need to settle in. Maybe close the eyes or have a soft gaze in front of you. Just notice how you're feeling coming to the mat this evening. Notice what you're bringing to the mat. Notice how your breath feels before we practice any pranayama or breath work. Just let yourself be for a moment. That may be the hardest thing that you do this evening. Or is always rushing to the next pose or the next thing. We don't give ourselves a chance to be in the moment, practicing that mindfulness. Do you notice if your breath is uneven or fast-paced or shallow? And in the theme of ahimsa, again, ahimsa is one of the first of the 8 limbs. We have the yamas and the niyamas. Ahimsa, which means non-violence, non-harming. We're going to explore that today. And we can start off with a mudra. A mudra is a hand position that cultivates different attributes, different energy, energy being relaxing or energizing. But we want to cultivate that theme of ahimsa, that nonviolence. You're going to see my hands upside down, and you're going to bring your hands into prayer position, so palms together. And you're going to open the knuckles, creating that space. And you're going to have the tips of the fingers touching still, the sides of the thumbs, and you're creating that space. So everything is very relaxing, gentle. We're not trying to strain to hold this. The hands look like this. You can see that on your screen. Everything is backwards to me. You're gonna hold this prayer position in front of the heart with the hands slightly away from the body, shoulders relaxed. Everything kind of balanced here. The base of the hands are touching the sides of the hands are touching the fingers and the tips of the fingers, but there's still that space in between. This is called the gesture of the dove. Again, the mudra of ahimsa. Relax anywhere where you're holding or gripping. And take a few moments of any shifts or changes while holding this mudra. Attuning to any feelings or sensations evoked. Notice how your breath is gently directed into the heart center, into the chest. We're trying to instill that sense of inner peace that allows you to rest deeply for practice. And noticing the breath, we want to find that balance and find that balanced breath, Samavitri, equal breath. Maybe the inhale is a bit longer than the exhale right now. So trying to even that out. Maybe it helps to count, maybe to 4 or 5 on the inhale. Completely fill the lungs and the belly. And then exhale to the same number, emptying completely. Following this ebb and flow of the breath. Imagine you can turn the volume down of the noises and distractions around you. Keep guiding it back to this breath. Taking a few more rounds at your own pace. And setting that intention. You may not know the word of Himsa that may be new to you, but again, it means non-violence and non-harming, kindness, compassion, and I'll go more into depth of that. But maybe setting that intention of cultivating compassion and acceptance for yourself. We always want to start with ourselves, fill our own cup up first. The thunderstorm may come during our practice. Again, thunderstorms are energetic but also cleansing at the same time. And it's also the full moon. This evening, I'll end our class with a full moon meditation with Shavasana. And setting that intention of maybe anything that comes up during this practice of non-harming or violence, or harming or violence towards yourself or others, maybe we can give that away to the full moon. The full moon is all about letting go. So I'll give you that chance to connect to that also. So maybe after a few more rounds of that breath, you notice how holding this mudra of the dove and finding that breath, maybe you already have calmed down, maybe just a little bit. Settled in, finding your anchor within. That balanced breath, try to keep that throughout the practice. Again, when your mind wanders to that negativity or something that is not serving you for this practice, try to guide it back to that breath. Slowly release the mudra, bringing the hands down to the lap, palms down, a little bit more grounding, preparing for our practice. And feel free to keep that breath going, that ebb and flow. Maybe you connect with the visualization of water that flow in and flow out. And we'll take a deep breath together to start off. Deep inhale in through the nose and out through the mouth. Slowly open the eyes, come back to the space. We will come to our back. Feel free to take any support underneath. If you want something a little bit more gentle, as a heart opener, we're going to open the heart, open that path to compassion. A very gentle way is to roll up a blanket and have that down on your mat. And when you roll back, you can align that with the spine. And that's a very, very, very gentle way to open up the chest. You can also have something underneath the head. We're also going to add bound angle and butterfly. So bringing the soles of the feet together and taking any support underneath the knees to hold the knees up without any muscular effort. We want to find complete effortless surrender in each pose that we take. If you prefer more of a heart opener, you can also take a bolster and recline back on that. Depending on how you feel, again, noticing what you're bringing to the moment. And if you feel very vulnerable, maybe starting small, starting with just the blanket. As far as your knees open up, bring that support underneath the blocks or more blankets or anything you have around the house. Pets work too. If your pets are joining you, feel free to share photos of your pets. My cats may make an appearance. They're usually naughty this time or in the evening. So start to gently recline back. Whatever support you chose. Feel free to have something over the waist. Maybe you have a weighted blanket or you add a blanket here. Let the arms open up to the sides. Maybe you cactus them, bring them out to a T or they're along the sides. Whatever is comfortable, you can decide the heart opener and that sensation that feels right today. If you want an eye pillow or something over the eyes, feel free, a scarf, anything you can find. Once you find a position that does not hurt, there's no pinching, let yourself get heavy and let go. Let your shoulders wrap around that support. Let your legs get heavy. Let go of any tension in the jaw or the forehead. Notice how the breath moves the body here, moves the torso, all on its own. There's nothing you need to do but let go. I will let you know when we are coming out of the pose with my chimes. When you hear that, there's no need to rush and pop up out of the pose. I will quietly guide you out of that shape. Again, we hold these poses anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. Again, we are trying to cultivate that vow of peace. Thinking of that dove, that's always that peace offering. So think of this class as an offering to yourself. Ahimsa is non-violence, non-harming, and is the foundation of the 5 yamas, the universal ethical values that we try to live by. This encompasses all levels of our being, beginning with our own bodies, by adopting a healthy diet, a lifestyle, along with adequate rest and stress management, which restorative yoga is perfect for. So give yourself gratitude for being here and tuning in for this practice. As we embrace our own bodies with greater care and kindness, we naturally expand that ahimsa again from ourselves to our bodies, to expand to our thoughts and our feelings by welcoming them without judgment or judging or criticizing ourselves. That is a great practice of mindfulness, is even though you have those negative thoughts, just noticing them in itself is really, really important. As we practice that non-violence towards our bodies and minds, we can create a greater sense of wholeness and inner peace, reducing our need to control and compete, which is a very good reminder right now with what we're trying to control or lack of control and what is going on in the world right now. And this supports us in practicing nonviolence towards others. It starts to get bigger and bigger and flow into our relationships, the people closest to us. And then we can expand that vow of ahimsa to all beings, to the world, recognizing that we are essential and we're unity of all creation and the universe, allowing peacefulness to infuse all of our interactions and activities. So in this first pose, again, that this mudra, the symbol of peace and the dove, that holding that mudra hopefully awakened a sense of peace in your inner being, and directing that breath and awareness and energy to the center of the chest, which this pose is opening that heart center. Instilling a feeling that we are entering an inner sanctuary of complete comfort and safety, which restorative yoga offers. We can't relax unless we feel safe. Know that we are all in this together. All the yogis tuning in right now and around the world, practicing yoga, one asana at a time, one breath at a time, trying to think of it as a whole. But it's got to start with yourself. Slowly coming back to the space, bringing movement back into your body. And if you had the legs in butterfly, slowly help the knees together. You can extend the legs long for a moment, wiggle the toes, rotate the ankles, windshield wiper the knees side to side. And if you are on that support, slowly rolling to one side and making your way up from the floor. The next shape that we're going to take is a supported child's pose. You can make this more comfortable by having something underneath the knees. You can also have a blanket rolled up and have that in between the legs. And you're going to take any support that you have and have that in front of you in between the thighs. You can have it flat on the mat or raise up one end depending, or you can decide how high that is. You can also have a blanket for underneath the cheek. You're going to bring a cheek to one side, and it doesn't matter what side you start on. I will tell you when to turn your cheek to the opposite side to even out the throat. And you want to bring that support far enough in towards yourself so when you fold forward, your whole torso is resting on that support. You would take your glasses off. You wouldn't have earbuds in your ears. Anything that would prevent you from getting comfortable here. Your shoulders will now wrap around the bolster like this, opening the back of the body now. Coming into this fetal position, allowing the breath to open up the back. Allowing yourself to get heavy. Making any adjustments that you need here. Hands can rest comfortably. And bringing the attention back to that breath. Feel the breath fill the lower back, the mid back, to the upper back. Trying to release any knots that we're holding in the shoulders or the back of the heart. Another way to think of ahimsa is kindness and love. Through yoga, we can cultivate that capacity to not harm others by offering kindness. Nonviolence is defined by honest compassion and true love. by embracing love, learning to love deeply, and also allow yourself to be loved. But sometimes this is impossible to do if you choose to ignore or escape from the certain things that you hold in about yourself or things that you think about yourself. Confronting your own inner darkness. We all have that shadow or that inner darkness, but recognizing that is the first step. And trying to recognize that with compassion. And that paves the way to transform that negativity and tendencies without acting on them, noticing them, but not acting on them. Yoga creates that avenue to get in touch with what you hold without, and therefore to express that negativity without hurting anyone, and yourself included. Releasing that negative energy in a yoga class or with breath, with meditation, transcends that negative aspect of yourself, creating peace in the world around you. So thinking of this practice as a chance of practicing self-love for yourself, kindness and self-compassion. Practicing self-love in everything and all that you do. And if you haven't already, turn your gaze the opposite way, coming to the opposite cheek. Slowly pressing yourself up and away from that support, moving the props out of the way, except maybe a block. You may not need it, but letting that block or what you're using as a block in front of you. You're going to stay in that child's pose, the legs. Again, if you had that blanket in between, that is fine to keep that there. You're going to come to a regular child's pose. Reaching the arms forward, bringing the forehead down. Feel free to massage the forehead against the floor or your mat. And on an inhale, reach a little bit more through the fingers towards the front of the mat. And then walk the hands over to the right, coming into this lateral bend. You may rest your forehead on your arms or in between the arms. You're trying to keep that, or bring the hands to the right. You're going to try to keep that left sit bone back, left hip back, so you find that lateral stretch in the whole left side. When you breathe, you feel that breath open up that whole side of the chest, side of the heart. And inhale, walk the hands back towards center. Create that length again. And exhale, walk the hands over to the left. Breathing to the right side body, keeping the right hip back. Inhale, coming back to center. You're going to rise up to tabletop, coming to hands and knees. Bring the knees underneath the hips. Feel free to keep that blanket underneath the knees. And have the hands underneath the shoulders. Finding that stability here. Bring the weight into the whole left hand. You're going to come off of the right hand, twist in the torso, twist open to the right. Reach to that right hand, and then exhale, thread that arm underneath the left, bringing the head down, that right shoulder down. You can keep that left hand in front of your gaze, pressing into the mat to deepen the twist. You can reach that left hand forward or bind that arm behind the back. Coming in to thread the needle again, trying to release any tension we're holding in the upper body. And if your head does not reach, that is when you can use that block to bring the side of the head down to bring the floor a little bit higher for you. Or if this is too intense with the head and shoulder down. Noticing where the mind is going, what's coming up, what you're letting go of, or trying to let go of. If you had that hand bound, unwind, press into the left hand to rise up, and take that counter back to the right. And exhale the hand back down. Other side, bringing the weight into the right hand. Inhale, open up to the left. Twisting in the torso, hips stay where they're at. And exhale, thread underneath the right arm. Again, if your head does not reach, bring a block underneath the head. Left hand can stay here to deepen the twist. You can reach the arm forward or bind behind. Slowly unwind that arm. Inhale to press yourself up. Take that counter back to the left. And exhale that hand down. Feel free in this tabletop to take any movement that feels good in the hips or rocking side to side. Maybe you're familiar with cat-cow. Maybe inhaling to lift the gaze, soften the belly. And exhale, chin to chest, dome and upper back. Kind of finding what your body is wanting, what it's calling out, finding kind of what feels good. And from here, we're gonna make our way back to our back. Going to spin this way. Feel free to have that blanket still underneath the hips. You're gonna bring the knees in towards the chest. Again, find any movement here that feels good. Maybe you draw circles with the knees. You're gonna take that right ankle and bring it in front of the left thigh, below the knee, coming into supine pigeon. You can bring that left foot back down to the ground if this is enough of a stretch in our tight hips from being stagnant at home, maybe in bed or on the couch. You can keep that right knee reaching forward with that left foot down. If you want more of a stretch here into the hips, the hip flexors, you can weave the fingers around that left thigh, bringing the legs more towards the chest. You should feel that really intensely in that right hip. Good for if you have sciatica, pain, or tightness, and just in general. We'll hold this for a few breaths. And then slowly bring that left foot down and extend that left leg long. You're going to take a support that can be a blanket or a bolster or a block. You're going to keep that right knee in and then roll to your left side, extend that right leg, kind of drape it over the left side body to meet that support. Your chest, your torso, your shoulders are all grounded. The twist is coming into that hip and the legs. And you should be able to see that my lower leg is meeting that support. My hips are now tilted to the left, and I'm finding this nice stretch and twist in my lower back, my lumbar. My leg is relaxed. I could hold this for a long time, and arms are going wherever's comfortable. If you take vinyasa, this is kind of a lazy version of extended hand to big toe, which would be me grabbing my feet and standing. That's a standing posture. We're taking more of a relaxed version, finding that very gentle twist here. And using or letting the props, hold us up. And breathing here. We should be able to breathe through the whole body in any shape. So again, if you find any discomfort or pinching, try to readjust. And you can have something underneath the head too. I apologize. I didn't not say that. Another way to think of ahimsa, non-harming, is definitely in a more vigorous class like vinyasa. We try to push ourselves, so we try to do all the chaturangas. But in restorative, we may try to, what's the next pose, or what's the next breath, or I need to relax, I need to relax, I need to relax. And we get into our head and we do the opposite by causing all that worry and anxiety. So again, just gently guide your awareness back to the breath, to that intention of this is your chance to cultivate that self-love and compassion. Cultivating that vow to yourself. All day long, we tend to act in subtle and not so subtle, aggressive ways against our experience. We are constantly in conflict within ourselves. We resist our lives from our emotional space, creating illness, aging, or we try to resist that illness and aging and the events of the day, and we kind of fight against everything. And again, this is so relevant to what is happening in the world right now. We're trying to fight it, we're trying to control it, we're trying to control everything that's happening around us, but there's only certain things we can control, like tuning into a yoga practice, tuning in to having that choice of if you watch the news or not, without going into much detail. You have a lot of choices and you can control certain things, but not letting that take over. At our deepest core, we have tender and compassion within ourselves, our families, and our communities, and the world. But that violence, that harming can show up in our emotional states, our behavior, and that's kind of a reflection of our inner conflict and kind of how we show up in the world, in our relationships. I've had a lot of students ask me why they are so tired even though they are at home, not doing what they're used to. We use up a lot of excess energy trying to control and getting caught in that whirlwind of anxiety and conflict. And we're denying our feelings of pain and not being enough, maybe to ourselves or to the people around us. And we're kind of closing ourselves off when we kind of fall into that pit of violence or harming. We close ourselves off from our true selves. So again, being aware of when that stuff comes up is very, very important. Practice to keep practicing. Everything is a practice. From that position with the right leg crossed over to the left, you're going to gently roll back to your back. Feel free to take any movement here, maybe both knees in towards the chest. And if you want to prepare taking that support to the other side. You're going to take that left ankle to the front of the right thigh. Noticing any difference between right and left in the supine pigeon. Again, you can keep the right foot down or weave the fingers around that right thigh to bring the legs in towards the chest. Noticing if you're gripping in the face or using that excess effort in the hands. Still trying to find that equal breath, that balance of effort and ease. From here, slowly release the fingers, bring that right foot down. You're going to extend that right leg long. You can start by bringing that left knee in. And then you're going to kind of, again, drape that leg over to the right. You may roll a little bit more to your right hip. So the pelvis is facing the right. Finding that twist in the lumbar. Finding that support with the lower leg. Keeping the shoulders grounded, the chest grounded, and the arms relaxed. If you are tuning in from Chicago, the thunderstorm is here. I hear thunder and see lightning outside my windows. You can think of the rain that's going to come as a way of cleansing and washing everything away. Slowly bringing yourself back to your back. We'll come into Savasana. You can take that support underneath the knees for supported Savasana. You can take anything underneath the head. You can cover yourself up. You can have an eye pillow. Letting yourself completely go here. No need to control the breath. Letting it go to a natural rhythm. Maybe the exhale is longer than the inhale. We'll be here for the rest of class, so feel free to just listen to my voice. There's nothing to see. Allow yourself to settle in, but stay connected to your heart. We must practice letting go of our own internal aggression, violence, and harming until it becomes our way of being. Again, everything is a practice. We can experience our true selves, inner stillness, peace, a settling into our bodies, and a connectiveness with our hearts. Inner landscape of peace ripples out like a pebble in a pond, affecting the whole ocean of life, our ocean. And thinking of that ocean or that shoreline, that ebb and flow, maybe it brings you back to that breath. Think of or visualize yourself standing on that shoreline that you can picture. You can see the full moon overhead, vibrant and shining. The full moon is that time of heightened energy. Thunderstorms is just amplifying that activity and emotions, but knowing what those emotions are, pinpointing that non-harming, that violence, that negativity. Letting this be a chance to let go. Letting yourself put that down. Maybe even for the moment or for the evening, until it becomes a practice. Meditating on that image of the full moon. Imagine the moon is sending you down a river of white light, flowing right in front of you. Bringing into your awareness those emotions that need resolution. A related incident, or a fear, or a worry. Picking one at a time. Allowing yourself to feel that emotion as tensely as possible. And see if that's manifesting as a sensation somewhere in the body. And if you could represent this emotion as an object, what would it be? What would it be? Its color? Imagine those emotions condensing into that object that you now hold in your hand. And imagine you're taking this object now and giving it to that light. Just let it go and watch it float away into oblivion. And if it's more than one thing, repeating this process and again and again. Once you are done thanking that river and asking it to go back to the moon, be deeply aware of how your body feels. And meditating on this feeling. Letting it all float away. Slowly start to deepen the breath, bringing the awareness back to your space, awareness back to your body and your breath. Bring movement back into your fingers and toes. And on your inhale, reach the arms up and overhead, taking a full body stretch, extending through the toes. You can bring the knees in towards the chest to make your way to one side, and allowing yourself to arrive in a seat. Bringing the hands in, Anjali Mudra, prayer position. Closing your eyes, and again, just like we started class with, allowing yourself to just be for a moment. How do you feel versus when you walked onto your mat? Affirming that intention, affirming that love and compassion you cultivated for yourself, and practicing ahimsa and taking that with you, practicing that in your everyday life off of the mat. Being kind to yourself and others. Making a vow of complete peace to allow yourself to live in inner and outer harmony. We'll seal our practice with a shared breath. Take a deep inhale in and out. Thank you for sharing your practice with me and Metro Yoga Chicago and everyone else that tuned in this evening. From my heart to yours, namaste.